Commander's Rack stood at the recruitment center of the Galactic Military Academy. He was a tall alien with blue skin and 4 arms. His job was simple: test new recruits and measure their power levels. He had done this job for 20 years. Today was supposed to be another normal day. The door opened. A human walked in. His name was Jake. He looked completely ordinary. Brown hair, average height, wearing simple clothes. He had his hands in his pockets and looked relaxed. Commander's Rack smiled. Humans were known across the galaxy as one of the weakest species. This test would take only 2 minutes. Zrak picked up his power scanner. It was the best scanner in the academy. It had tested over 10,000 warriors. It never made mistakes. He pointed it at Jake. The scanner beeped and started working. Numbers appeared on the small screen. Zrak expected to see maybe 50 or 60. That was normal for weak species. The numbers started climbing. 100. Zrak raised an eyebrow. That was higher than expected. 500. Now Zrak was paying attention. 1,000. He looked at Jake carefully. The human just stood there. He was not even trying to power up. He looked bored. 5,000. 10,000. 50,000. The scanner started shaking in Zrak's hands. Other aliens in the room stopped their work. They turned to look. Everyone was staring at the numbers. 100,000. The scanner was shaking harder now. 500,000. Steam started coming from the device. Zrak's assistant ran over. She looked at the screen, and her mouth fell open. 1 million. The number kept climbing. The scanner was making a loud noise now. Warning lights were flashing red. 2 million. 3 million. 5 million. Zrak tried to turn it off, but the scanner would not respond. Then it happened. Crack! The scanner exploded in Zrak's hands. Pieces flew everywhere. Smoke filled the air. Everyone in the room jumped back in shock. When the smoke cleared, Zrak looked at his hands. The scanner was completely destroyed. Then he looked at Jake. The human was standing in the exact same position. His hands were still in his pockets. He did not look surprised or worried. He just looked at the broken scanner and said something that made Zrak's blood run cold. Sorry about your scanner. I was not even trying yet. Commander Zrak could not sleep that night. He kept thinking about Jake, the broken scanner. Those words, I was not even trying yet. What did that mean? How strong was this human really? The next morning, Zrak made a decision. He needed answers. He called the chief scientist, Dr. Vorn. Dr. Vorn was the smartest person in the academy. He had built machines that could test even the strongest warriors in the galaxy. Zrak explained what happened yesterday. Dr. Vorn did not believe him at first. No one could break the academy scanner. It was impossible. But then Zrak showed him the pieces of the destroyed scanner. Dr. Vorn's face changed. He looked worried now. He touched the broken parts carefully. After 5 minutes, he looked up at Zrak. His voice was serious. The scanner did not just break. It overloaded. Whatever power it was measuring was too high. Way too high. Dr. Vorn left and came back 3 hours later. He brought a massive machine with him. The machine was the size of a small car. It had thick metal walls and hundreds of wires. 6 people helped carry it into the testing room. This is the military-grade power detector. Dr. Vorn said proudly, "This machine can measure a Class 10 warrior. Nothing has ever broken this machine. Nothing." They set up the machine in the center of the testing room. Word had spread about yesterday. Now 20 military officers were standing around watching. Everyone wanted to see what would happen. Jake arrived exactly on time. He walked into the room, looking the same as yesterday. Calm, relaxed, hands in pockets. Zrak pointed to the testing area. "Please stand in the center." Jake nodded and walked over. He stood there waiting. Dr. Vorn checked all the connections one more time. Everything was ready. He looked at Zrak. Zrak nodded. Dr. Vorn pressed the start button. The machine hummed to life. Lights started flashing. Numbers appeared on a huge screen on the wall. Everyone watched. 100,000. 500,000. 1 million. The numbers were climbing fast. Too fast. Dr. Vorn looked confused. This should not be happening so quickly. 5 million, 10 million, 20 million. The military officers started talking to each other. Some looked scared. 50 million, 100 million. The machine started making a loud grinding noise. Dr. Vorn ran to the controls. His hands were shaking. Commander, this is impossible. No living being has this much power. The readings must be wrong. But the numbers kept climbing. 200 million, 500 million, 1 billion. Alarms started going off. Red lights flashed everywhere. The machine was shaking now. Sparks flew from the sides. Dr. Vorn was hitting buttons frantically. I cannot shut it down. The system is locked. 2 billion, 3 billion, 5 billion. Zrak screamed, "Everyone get back." The officers ran toward the walls. The machine was shaking violently now. Smoke poured out. The grinding noise became a screaming sound. Then BOM, the entire machine exploded. The blast was so strong it knocked everyone to the ground. Fire and smoke filled the room. Emergency systems activated. Water sprayed from the ceiling. When the smoke finally cleared, everyone slowly stood up. They looked at where the machine had been. It was completely destroyed. Just twisted metal and broken parts. Then someone pointed. "Look." Everyone turned to look at the testing area. Jake was standing in the exact same spot. Not a single scratch on him. His clothes were not even dirty. He brushed some dust off his shoulder. Then he looked at Commander's rack. His face was completely calm, but his eyes were serious. "Should I actually try this time?" Jake asked. Every single alien in that room took a step backward. Commander's rack stared at Jake for a long moment. His mind was racing. 2 machines destroyed. The most advanced equipment in the galaxy. Both broken like toys. And Jake was asking if he should actually try. What kind of power was this? What kind of being was standing in front of him? Jake could see the fear in everyone's eyes. He sighed quietly. "Commander's rack, can we talk privately?" His voice was gentle, not threatening. Zrak hesitated, but then nodded. They walked to Zrak's private office. The door closed behind them. Jake sat down in a chair like this was a normal meeting. "I need to tell you something about humans," Jake said. Zrak sat down across from him. He was listening very carefully now. Jake leaned forward. "Commander, do you know what a death world is?" Zrak nodded slowly. Death worlds were planets so dangerous that most species could never survive there. They were rated by class. Most planets were Class 2 or Class 3. Earth is a Class 12 death world, Jake said quietly. Zrak's eyes went wide. Class 12. That was almost unheard of. Only 5 planets in the known galaxy were Class 12. Jake continued talking. "Our gravity is 3 times stronger than what you have here. Our air has oxygen levels that are toxic to most species. Our oceans have creatures that could eat your warships. Our weather can kill in minutes." Jake stood up and walked to the window. He looked out at the training grounds below. "We have animals on Earth that hunt in packs and never give up. We have insects that can kill with one bite. We have plants that are poisonous to touch. Humans did not become the top species on Earth because we were lucky. We became the top species because we are survivors. We are fighters. We are built different." Zrak was beginning to understand, but he still had questions. But why hide it? Why do humans pretend to be weak when you join the galaxy? Jake turned around. His expression was serious now. Because fear destroys peace. If every species knew what humans could really do, there would be panic. There would be wars. Some would try to destroy Earth before we became too powerful. Others would try to use us as weapons. Jake walked back to the chair, but did not sit down. "Do you want to see my real power, Commander?" "Just a small amount, maybe 5%. Zrak felt his heart beating fast. He was scared, but he was also curious. He nodded slowly. Jake smiled. "Let us go to the training arena. Somewhere with space." 20 minutes later, they stood in the largest training arena in the academy. It was a massive room with metal walls and a ceiling 50 meters high. Word had spread again. Now 500 people were watching from the safe viewing area behind thick glass. Soldiers, scientists, officers. Everyone wanted to see what would happen. Jake walked to the center of the arena. He looked small standing there alone. The room was completely silent. Everyone was holding their breath. Jake closed his eyes. He took one deep breath. Then something changed. The air in the room felt heavier. The temperature dropped. People in the viewing area felt pressure on their chests. Energy started to appear around Jake's body. It looked like white light mixed with blue electricity. It moved around him like water. The ground under his feet began to crack. Small pieces of metal on the floor started to float. The lights in the arena flickered. A power level detector on the wall started beeping. The numbers climbed fast. 100 million, 500 million, 1 billion. The cracks in the floor spread wider. The walls started to shake. Some people in the viewing area grabbed onto railings. They felt like the whole building might fall. The detector kept climbing. 5 billion, 10 billion, 50 billion. The air itself seemed to be vibrating. It was hard to breathe. Some of the weaker aliens started to feel dizzy. Then Jake opened his eyes. They were glowing bright white. He looked up at the viewing area. His voice was calm, but everyone could hear it clearly even though he was not shouting. That was 5%. The energy around him disappeared instantly. The pressure stopped. The shaking stopped. Everything went back to normal. Jake stood there looking completely fine. Not tired at all. Complete silence filled the arena. Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. One alien soldier fainted and fell to the floor. Another was shaking, so hard his friend had to hold him up. Commander Zrak's hands were trembling. He looked at the detector on the wall. It showed the final number before Jake stopped. 50 billion, at 5%. Zrak did the math in his head. His face went pale. If that was 5%, then 100% would be. He could not even finish the thought. The number was too big, too impossible. Jake walked calmly toward the exit. He stopped and looked back at Zrak. Commander, I will tell you something important. Humans do not come to the Academy because we are weak and need training. We come here to make sure the galaxy stays safe. Safe from threats out there. And safe from us. We need to control our power. We need to remember that strength without control is just destruction. Jake left the arena. 500 people stood in complete silence. They had just seen something that changed everything they thought they knew about the galaxy. Commander Zrak sat down slowly. His legs felt weak. One question kept repeating in his mind. If Jake was not even in the top 100 strongest humans, then what could the strongest ones do? Commander Zrak could not stop thinking about what he saw. Jake at 5% power had nearly destroyed the training arena. The number 50 billion kept appearing in his mind. He could not sleep again. At 3 a.m, he got up and went to the Academy library. He needed answers about humans. Real answers. The library was empty and dark. Zrak sat at a computer terminal. He searched for human history in the galactic database. The computer showed basic information: Earth location, human population, standard biological data. But when Zrak tried to access military records about humans, the screen turned red. Access denied. Classified level 10. Zrak felt his heart beat faster. Level 10 classification was the highest security level in the galaxy. Only Grand Admirals and the Galactic Council had access. Why were human military records so protected? What was the galaxy hiding? He tried 3 more times. Each time the same message. Access denied. Classified level 10. The next morning, Zrak made a decision. He needed to talk to someone with high clearance. Someone who knew the truth. He requested a meeting with Grand Admiral Thorne. Admiral Thorne was 400 years old. He had fought in every major war for the last 2 centuries. He had seen everything. If anyone knew about humans, it was him. The meeting was approved. Zrak went to Admiral Thorne's office that afternoon. The office was huge with weapons and metals covering the walls. Admiral Thorne sat behind a massive desk. He was a large alien with gray skin and wise old eyes. He looked at Zrak and seemed to know why he was there. Sit down, Commander. Let me guess. You want to know about humans. Zrak sat down quickly. Yes, sir. I tested a human recruit named Jake. 2 power detectors were destroyed. He showed me 5% of his power, and the number reached 50 billion. Sir, what are humans really? Why is everything about them classified? Admiral Thorne was quiet for a long moment. Then he stood up and walked to the window. What I am about to tell you is known by only 50 people in the entire galaxy. You will never speak of this to anyone without permission. Do you understand? Zrak nodded. Yes, sir. Admiral Thorne pressed a button on his desk. The door locked. The windows turned dark. The room was now completely secure. He sat back down and his face was very serious. 200 years ago, humans made first contact with our galaxy. We did not know anything about them. They seemed friendly, weak, harmless. We welcomed them. But the Crag Empire did not trust them. You know about the Crag. Zrak nodded. Everyone knew the Crag. They had the most powerful military in the galaxy. They had never lost a war. They were legends. The Crag Emperor decided to test these humans. He sent a fleet to Earth. 10,000 warships. The largest invasion force ever assembled. The Crag believed they would conquer Earth in one day. They sent one message to Earth. Surrender or be destroyed. The humans sent back a simple reply. Leave now or face consequences. The Crag laughed. They attacked. Admiral Thorne paused. His hands were shaking slightly. Commander, what happened next is why human records are classified. 3 humans flew into space. Just 3. No ships. No weapons. Just 3 humans in simple space suits. The Crag fleet fired everything. Planet killer missiles. Plasma cannons. Gravity bombs. Enough firepower to destroy a solar system. The 3 humans did not dodge. They did not hide. They just raised their hands. Every single missile stopped in midair. 10,000 Crag warships watched in shock as their weapons froze in space. Then the 3 humans pushed forward with their hands. Every missile flew back at double speed. In 7 minutes, the entire Crag fleet was destroyed. 10,000 warships. Gone. The 3 humans flew back to Earth. They did not say a word. Zrak felt cold. That was impossible. The Crag were the strongest. Admiral Thorne continued. The Crag Emperor was furious. He gathered 50,000 more warships. He came himself this time with his personal guard of 500 elite warriors. Each warrior was a Class 8 fighter. The Emperor was Class 10, the strongest being anyone had ever seen. The humans sent 12 fighters this time. 12 against 50,000 ships and 500 elite warriors. The battle lasted 15 minutes. Not a single Crag ship survived. The Emperor himself fought against one human woman. She beat him in 30 seconds. He surrendered. He begged for mercy. She let him live, but she gave him a message. The woman told the Emperor that the 12 humans who fought that day were not even using 10% of their power. She said if humans ever used 50%, the Crag home planet would cease to exist. If they use 100%, an entire galaxy sector will be erased from existence. The Emperor returned home and immediately made peace with Earth. He has never spoken of that battle again. Zrak was speechless. His mind could not process what he was hearing. Admiral Thorne stood up and walked around the desk. After those battles, the Galactic Council met with human leaders. We were terrified. We thought humans might decide to conquer everyone. But the humans surprised us. They said they did not want war. They did not want to rule. They only wanted peace. So we made an agreement. Humans would join the galactic community as equals. They would send people to our schools and our military, but they would hide their true power. They would pretend to be weak. They would act normal. Because if every species knew the truth, there would be chaos. Some would worship humans. Some would fear them. Some would try to kill them before they became a threat. Admiral Thorne put his hand on Zrak's shoulder. Jake is what we call a guardian. There are 100 guardians scattered across the galaxy. They watch. They protect. They make sure peace continues. But Commander, here is the part that should really scare you. Jake is ranked number 73 on the human power scale. There are 72 humans stronger than him. Zrak felt dizzy. He sat back down. But sir, why are you telling me this now? Why not keep it secret? Admiral Thorne's face became dark. His voice dropped to almost a whisper. Because we have a problem, Commander. A very big problem. And for the first time in 200 years, we need to ask the humans for help. Real help. Something is coming. Something that scared our ancestors 5,000 years ago. Something that made 1,000,000 species work together just to seal it away. The seals are breaking. It is waking up. And our simulations show that even with every military in the galaxy working together, we have only a 2% chance of survival. Zrak looked up at the Admiral. "What is it, sir?" Admiral Thorne walked back to his desk and pressed another button. A hologram appeared showing deep space. A massive dark cloud was spreading across the stars. Entire solar systems were going dark. Planets were disappearing. The cloud was moving towards civilized space. The Devourers. Admiral Thorne said quietly, "They have returned." Commander Zrak stared at the hologram in horror. The dark cloud looked alive. It moved like a living creature spreading across space. Everywhere it touched turned black. Stars disappeared. Planets vanished. It was like watching reality itself being erased. "How long until it reaches us?" Zrak asked quietly. Admiral Thorne pressed more buttons. The hologram zoomed in, showing projections and calculations. 30 days. Maybe less. The Devourers move faster as they consume more energy. Right now they are eating uninhabited systems. But in 30 days they will reach the outer colonies. 2 billion people live there. After that they will reach the core worlds. 50 billion people. We are looking at the extinction of every species in this galaxy. Zrak felt sick. He had heard stories about the Devourers when he was young. Ancient legends. Bedtime stories to scare children. He never thought they were real. What exactly are they, sir? Admiral Thorne closed the hologram and sat down heavily. His 400 years suddenly showed on his face. He looked tired and old. 5,000 years ago, the Devourers came from dark space. Nobody knows where they originated. They are not biological. They are not mechanical. They are pure energy. Hungry energy. They consume everything. Matter. Light. Life. They ate 3 galaxies before the ancient civilizations finally stopped them. 1,000,000 different species worked together. Billions of soldiers died. They could not kill the Devourers, but they managed to seal them in a prison dimension. And now the prison is breaking. Zrak said. Admiral Thorne nodded. "We have been monitoring the seals for centuries. They were weakening slowly. We thought we had another 1,000 years. But 3 months ago something changed. The deterioration accelerated. We do not know why. Now the seals are failing, and we are not ready." Admiral Thorne stood and walked to a large screen on the wall. He pressed his hand against it. The screen lit up, showing a massive fleet of ships. Thousands and thousands of warships from every species in the galaxy. This is our response fleet. 100,000 warships. 50 million soldiers. Every species has sent their best warriors. We have weapons that can crack planets. Shields that can survive stars exploding. It is the largest military force in history. He paused and his voice became sad. Our best simulations give us a 2% chance of slowing them down. Not stopping them. Just slowing them. We will all die and by maybe 2 more weeks for civilians to evacuate. That is our best case scenario. Zrak felt cold fear spreading through his body. If this fleet cannot stop them, then what can? The door to the office suddenly opened. Jake walked in. He was not wearing his normal casual clothes anymore. He wore a black uniform with a symbol on the chest. A blue circle with white stars. The symbol of Earth. Behind him walked 4 more humans. 2 men and 2 women. They all wore the same uniform. They all had the same calm, confident look in their eyes. Admiral Thorne stood up straight. His voice had respect in it. "Guardian Jake, thank you for coming." Jake nodded and walked to the desk. "Commander Zrak, good to see you again. I heard the Admiral told you everything." Zrak just nodded. He could not find words. Jake looked at the hologram of the dark cloud. "So the Devourers are back. I was afraid this might happen. You knew about them?" Zrak asked. Jake smiled slightly. "Commander, humans have been in this galaxy for 200 years. But we have been traveling through space for much longer. We have seen things. Old things. Dangerous things. Yes, we know about the Devourers. Our ancestors fought them once. long before we met any of you. One of the women stepped forward. She had red hair and green eyes. Her name tag said Captain Sarah Chun. We have been monitoring the prison seals for the last 50 years. We knew they were weakening. We have been preparing. Earth has sent 100 guardians. We are all here now. Jake looked at Admiral Thorne. We will need full authority over the battle plan. The Admiral nodded without hesitation. You have it. Jake walked to the hologram controls. He zoomed out, showing the entire sector. The Devourers will come from here. They will send a forward fleet first to test our strength. About 10,000 ships. Each ship is the size of a moon. Behind them will be the main force. Maybe 100,000 more. And behind that will be the Devourer King himself. The Devourer King. Zrak had never heard that term before. Jake's face was serious. The King is the original Devourer. The first one. He is pure, concentrated hunger. He has consumed entire galaxies. If he reaches full power, nothing can stop him. That is why we need to end this fast and hard. We cannot let him power up. Captain Sarachin pulled up data on another screen. We ran our own simulations. If we fight at 40% power, we can destroy the forward fleet. If we go to 60%, we can take the main force. But the King will require 80%. Maybe more. Admiral Thorne looked shocked. 80%. Jake, we talked about this. The agreement was never go above 50%. Jake nodded. I know, sir, but this is an extinction-level event. The entire galaxy is at stake. Earth Command has authorized up to 80% if necessary. We do not want to use that much. At 80%, we cannot always control what happens. Space itself starts to break. Reality becomes unstable. But if it is a choice between using 80% or letting everything die, then the choice is clear. One of the other Guardians spoke up. He was an older man with gray hair. His name tag said Commander Marcus Webb. Admiral, we need to evacuate all civilian ships to minimum safe distance. When 100 Guardians fight at high power, the energy release is massive. Anything within 1 million kilometers will be vaporized. Anything within 10 million kilometers will take severe damage. Admiral Thorne was quiet for a moment. Then he nodded. I will give the evacuation order immediately. Jake looked at Zrak. Commander, you should go with the civilian fleet. This battle is not for regular soldiers. Zrak shook his head. With respect, Guardian, I am staying. I want to see this. I want to witness what humans can really do. Jake studied Zrak's face for a long moment. Then he smiled. All right, Commander. You can watch from the command ship, but stay behind the shields. Several other officers requested the same thing. They all wanted to see. Word spread about Jake's demonstration. Everyone knew something big was about to happen. 3 days passed. The evacuation was complete. Civilian ships moved to safe distance. The military fleet took position. 100,000 warships spread across space in defensive formations. It looked impressive. But everyone knew the truth. This fleet was just there for support. The real battle would be fought by 100 humans. The Guardians gathered in open space. No ships. No weapons. Just 100 humans floating in the void. They formed a circle. Energy began to connect them. Blue light flowed between them like a web. They were synchronized in their power. Jake's voice came over every communication channel in the fleet. All ships moved back to defensive line beta. We are preparing to engage. The fleet moved back. From the command ship, Zrak watched through the main viewport. The 100 Guardians looked so small. Just tiny dots of light against the endless black. But the energy around them was already making space ripple like water. On the long-range sensors, a new signal appeared. The Devourer fleet had arrived. 10,000 massive ships emerged from dark space. Each one was the size of a small moon. They were black, darker than space itself. They seemed to absorb light. The temperature in the command ship dropped even though they were millions of kilometers away. These were the Devourers, the ancient enemy, the Eaters of Worlds. Jake's voice came over the channel again. His tone was calm but serious. Remember, everyone, 60% maximum unless I give the signal. If 60 is not enough, then we go to 80. But let us hope it does not come to that. The other 99 Guardians responded together. Understood. The Devourer fleet began moving forward, slowly at first, then faster. They were accelerating toward the human position. Dark energy crackled around their ships. They fired the first shot. Thousands of black beams that could destroy planets shot toward the Guardians. Zrak held his breath. This was it. The battle that would decide the fate of the galaxy was beginning. The 100 Guardians raised their hands together, and reality itself began to scream. Claude is AI and can make mistakes. Please double-check responses. The black beams from the Devourer ships crossed space at impossible speed. Each beam carried enough power to destroy a planet. Thousands of them were heading straight toward the 100 Guardians. Everyone watching from the fleet held their breath. This was the moment of truth. Would the humans really be able to stop this? The Guardians did not move. They kept their hands raised. The energy web connecting them glowed brighter. Then something incredible happened. Every single black beam stopped. They froze in space just meters away from the Guardians. Thousands of planet-killer weapons hanging motionless in the void. The Devourer ships stopped advancing. Even they seemed surprised. Jake's voice was calm. Return to sender. All 100 Guardians pushed their hands forward at the same time. The black beams reversed direction instantly. They flew back at twice the speed. The Devourers tried to dodge, but they were too slow. Beam after beam slammed into their own ships. Explosions lit up space. 1,000 Devourer ships were destroyed in seconds. Just like that, 1/10 of their forward fleet was gone. On the command ship, every officer was cheering. Admiral Thorne watched with wide eyes. Commander Zrak could not believe what he just saw. The Guardians had not even moved from their position. They just stood there in space. Calm. Ready. The remaining 9,000 Devourer ships began charging their weapons again. But this time something was different. A massive shape appeared behind them. The sensors went crazy. The shape was huge. Bigger than anything Zrak had ever seen. It was the size of a large planet, but it moved like a living thing. Dark energy swirled around it like a storm. The temperature dropped even more. Ice started forming on the inside of the command ship windows. This was no normal Devourer ship. This was something much worse. A voice boomed across space. It was deep and ancient. It sounded like 1,000 voices speaking at once. Humans, I remember your kind. You were children when last we met. You are still children. You cannot stop us. We are eternal. We are hunger. We are the end of all things. The voice came from a massive shape. The Devourer King had arrived early. Jake's expression changed. He looked surprised for the first time. Captain Sarah moved the fleet back another 5 million kilometers. Now, Sarah immediately gave the order. The military fleet began moving back fast. Something was wrong. Jake had not expected the king to come with the forward fleet. Sarah's voice came over the channel. Jake, what is happening? The king should not be here yet. Change of plans. Jake said. His voice was still calm, but Zrak could hear the tension. The king is smarter than we thought. He came early to catch us off guard. We need to go to 60% right now. All Guardians acknowledged. The energy connecting them flared. The web of blue light became almost white. Space around them started to crack. Actual cracks appeared in reality, like breaking glass. The power readings from the Guardians shot up. 10 billion, 50 billion, 100 billion, 500 billion. The sensors could barely measure it anymore. Zrak felt pressure on his chest even from millions of kilometers away. He looked around the command ship. Other officers were holding on to their stations. Some were breathing hard. The power was so immense they could feel it across space. The Devourer King laughed. It was a terrible sound. Good. Show me your strength, humans. Show me if you have grown since we last met. The king raised what looked like an arm. The 9,000 remaining ships charged forward. The king himself began gathering energy. A sphere of pure black formed in front of him. It grew larger and larger. It was like watching a black hole being born. Thanks for watching. Coming soon, Part 2.